everyone, and welcome to the first and only 2020 Thomas Wooden Railway Community Presidential Debates, hosted by Blue Midwest Mysteries and sponsored by TTTE Community Radio. I will be your moderator, Percy number 6. Now, this debate will go as follows. There'll be 6 segments. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to make a response to the question, followed by a friendly debate. Candidates have agreed to the rules ahead of time. So without further delay, let's introduce our 2020 Thomas Wooden Railway Community Presidential candidates, co-host of Blue Midwest Mysteries, MrMPS2002, and host of Roberto's Records, LNERFlyingScotsman.
Hello, I love my fans. Hello, it'll be a pleasure to be your community president.
Hello, fans. Hello, listeners. It will be a pleasure to be your community president, as I will do everything in my power to make this the greatest election ever.
See, that's crazy because you seem to be implying that that you're gonna be the president because you're not is the thing. Because I am me.
No,
MrMPS 2002.
We've looked at the polls and we have a very good shot of beating you in a landslide election.
Okay. Let's get this debate started, you two. Now, our first segment will be involving TWR videos. We'll start with Mr. 2002. The question is as followed. It's been over a year since either of you have made a TWR video, and it does not look like that will be changing in the foreseeable future. Despite not being an active uploader, why would you still be a good president of the TWRC? Your 60 seconds begins now.
Well, I personally think that I would be a good leader for the TWRC because it is true that I've not made a Thomas Wooden Railway video in quite a while. I believe myself to be quite influential in the community. After all, I was one of the first people to ever do a crossover review, myself along with Jay Louvier, and also I still continue to make appearances, cameos, and video reviews all the time from users such as NEC and Vincente22 to little users such as Roman, who I just would like to help out and give a little boost in the community. I believe that I would be good because Roberto is just in general not as influential as I am and does not continue to support his fellow users like I do. That's it. I don't even need the rest of my time.
Thank you, Mr. 2002. Same question, Mr. Scotsman.
Well, I still happen to have my TWR and YouTube videos up, so you can go watch them. Meanwhile, my opponent seems to feel like his videos are a little bit of an embarrassment to keep up on YouTube. They're gone. They're all gone, and you cannot see a single one of them with the public YouTube link. You have to ask him for the link, or either so. It's private, and only he could see it. So, Matt's just been here in this community for like 10 years or so, and he has nothing to show for it. Meanwhile, I still have something to show for it, and I still have unreleased footage of Season 3 of my series that never made it onto YouTube that could probably still be salvaged in some sort of way. Now, just saying, also as a rebuttal to Matt, the reason why I have not been that active in other people's projects is because nobody asks me. Nobody wants an old user like LNERFlyingScotsman, who was so influential back in the day, to be in their projects.
Thank you, Mr. Scotsman.
I don't know what their thinking is. Maybe they can't afford the budget. Who knows?
Feel free to argue, Mr. 2002.
Well, let's take a look at subscriber counts really quick. Roberto wants to talk about all these numbers and digits, but you might go on the LNERFlyingScotsman channel and notice Roberto has only 958 subscribers, less than 1,000. Meanwhile, I am sitting at a comfortable 4.51 thousand subscribers. Very interesting. I think this shows that Roberto is a little user, and we don't want little users in charge of this community, do we? No, we want top trained who know what they're doing.
Now listen here. Remember, this was back in 2013 when I stopped making videos. And then everyone got a huge subscriber boost around 2015, 2016. Meanwhile, I wasn't there. to get my fair share of subscribers from that boost. Meanwhile, other users like you got that boost of subscribers because I
Yeah,
wasn't making videos anymore at that
but but
time.
with but with all this backlog of videos that you seem so proud of, you would think that maybe, if they're so great, then people would check them out and maybe think, I should subscribe to this person, in case they upload any more.
Because, man, back in the day, these were quality content videos. I was using an actual camcorder to record videos while you were using your iPod Touch in landscape mode.
Sounds to me like you are a bit jealous that you can't afford the premium iPod Touch. I find that a lot with people, that they're jealous that technology is better than them. Interesting.
I'm not jealous. I had an iPhone 4S at the time you had the iPod Touch, and I was making my YouTube videos. I was using the camcorder because that's what everyone was doing back then. Everybody had a camcorder, a Panasonic camcorder.
But now it seems like more and more people are starting to record with their phones. So actually,
Exactly.
if you think about it, I was ahead of the curve with my Apple device.
Not really, because people are recording with their phones because the phones have capability of getting a better camera. Meanwhile, with the iPod Touch, it had a very bad camera compared to today's standards back in 2011, 2012, whenever you were out making YouTube videos. And might I mention that your videos were horizontal? It took you like 2 years for you to move the iPod Touch to the side so it could capture the entire screen of the YouTube video to record your
You've been really
videos.
bang on this point for quite a
Thank you.
while, Roberto.
Thank you,
It's
both candidates. Thank you. It's time to move on to our next segment, which you two were already kind of talking about in this first one. So perfect timing. There is a continues to be a growing rift between the top and bottom trains in the TWRC. In your first 100 days as president, what would you do to help make top and bottom trains play on a more level playing field? Mr. Scotsman, your time begins now.
Well, considering my opponent believes I am a bottom train, which I guess you can view it as both ways. First, my subscriber count, but this means that I feel like because I can get along with both the top trains and possibly also the bottom trains, that I could help the bottom trains become more familiarized within the members of the community who haven't been top trains. We need to be more inviting of these so-called bottom train members of the community. We need to be more actively promoting their videos, doing something like Oliver Duck did, our great late president Oliver Duck, who took users like, oh, I can't even name a user. He took so many users. I guess he took Dieselfan08 as one of his prodigies, and he did a crossover with him, and that got him a lot of subscribers and new views on his videos on MPS.
Thank you,
Flat out
Mr.
refused to
Scotsman.
do a crossover with him
And
until it became popular to do a crossover
you
with
gonna let him keep
Dieselfan
talking?
08.
He went over his time limit.
yeah, you're done, Mr. Scotsman. Thank you. And Mr. 2002, your time begins now.
Well, basically, the bare bones of it all is that Roberto's looking at this all wrong. We don't need to have top trains and bottom trains coexisting. I mean, obviously they're called top trains and bottom trains for a reason. Am I right? I mean, aren't meant to some people just aren't meant to be leaders in the community. Some people are just
Bottom trains can become top
interrupt. He's
trains.
Mr.
interrupting.
Scotsman, you cannot interrupt.
I'm sorry. Are you
He's
interrupted
interrupting
him right
again.
now,
Mr. Scotsman, this is Mr. 2002's time.
Mr. Six? I fully understand.
Stop interrupting. Stop
Oh,
interrupting.
Mr.
He's just mad
Scotsman,
he's a
you gotta
bottom train. He's
stop.
just mad he's a bottom train. Top trains should be the ones that are in charge of this community. The bottom trains, like Roman, have nothing to do in this community, and they will crash us into the ground. We need a leader who is strong, who is going to keep the reign of top trains powerful, and who is a top
Mr.
train himself, who has
2002,
more
that
than
is your
1,000
time.
subscribers.
Okay, so now feel free to debate each other.
Matt, you need to have community. This is a community. This means that people need to be interactive with each other. If by what you are arguing, it sounds like that you want there to be this rift between the top trains and the bottom trains, but to even further that rift and make it more harder for bottom trains to become top trains.
I mean, come on. There's an obvious hierarchy in this community, right, guys? I mean, come
An
on.
obvious hierarchy that we need to abolish.
I disagree. I think it's served us well so far. This hierarchy has produced such amazing users as Sir Topham Hatt 291 and Scott Stonecipher, two of the greatest content creators in the history of the Thomas Wooden Railway community. And I'd say with a track record like that, why change what's not broken, you know?
It's because everyone has to start out as a bottom train eventually. I mean, you started out as a bottom train.
Untrue.
That's true.
Fake news.
Now that is true. If you
You're
you
lying.
can go back and look at the old conversations we had on Skype
Fake
and Twitter.
news.
What did we used to call MrMPS2002? It was a 4-letter word. We used to call him a noob.
He's lying. He's lying. This is lies and slander. Do not believe the Roberto Stream media.
No, a noob. MILF Protection Services used to be considered a noob.
Not true. Untrue. Fake news. All fake news entirely.
People do not want to go back that far. You can read the wiki on MrMPS2002. See
the wiki that you wrote. Very
wiki that is
interesting
ran by
how
person number
biased
6
it
now.
could be.
It's not biased. I gave it to the moderator to run pretty much because I
thought
am
you were
at
too
500
biased. Yeah, I
edits.
know.
No,
That's fine.
It's not biased at all. It's an unbiased
You can claim
source
that
of
as
news,
much as you
information.
want.
Thank you both. Thank you both. And with that, we will move on to our third segment, and it is involving addiction, which you both suffer from. It has well been documented that you both suffer from this addiction.
Like mathematics ad?
Yes, like
addition.
Addition. No, addiction. Addiction, because
a dick, a penis.
No, you, Mr. Scotsman, you are addicted to your records. Meanwhile, your opponent, Mr. 2002, is addicted to his Baja Blast. How can you both convince the people that you would make a better president despite your addictions you suffer from? Mr. Scotsman, we will start with you again.
Okay, well, I wouldn't call record buying an addiction, pretty much. I am basically adding new music for Roberto's Records, my show here on TTTE
Mr. Scotsman, I do want to point out to the audience, you have over 1,200 different records.
1,200? Yes, that is true. But you have to remember all this music that has come out yearly. It's a lot of music. A DJ usually gets a lot of requests for songs. Some songs that I don't even have on the show. They don't even look at the spreadsheet. So my idea is that if I keep buying these records, I could eventually get more people to request songs because I'll have more songs that they'll want to hear on my show. That's why I don't consider it an addiction. I am basically appealing to the masses and buying collection. Meanwhile, my opponent has a very, very worse addiction than me, which I'll let him explain. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Mr. Scotsman. Mr. 2002, your time begins now.
My history with Mountain Dew Baja Blast is, I would say, fairly well documented. And at points, yes, I would agree that it was an addiction. But if you may have, I don't know if you may have noticed or not, especially Roberto may not have noticed because he wasn't invited, is in the videos and the live stream for the most recent Large Wooden Railway meetup. I actually managed to kick my addiction to Baja Blast, and I actually went so far as to publicly shout out Jolt Cola as the new official drink of the community on the live stream. And so not only, I admit right here that I did indeed have an addiction, but I am stronger than my addiction because I was able to break it, and now I have come out on the other side better than ever before. And so I dare you to try to tell me that somebody...
2002. And feel free to debate.
I feel like you had a point there. Maybe you want to continue this point because I don't feel like it was going anywhere. But if it makes you look even worse, I fully oblige you to continue.
All I'm saying is I am stronger than you because I was able to actually beat my addiction.
Well. Not true. Because first of all, mine wasn't even an addiction. It's appealing to the masses. Yours was a straight up addiction that caused Mountain Dew Baja Blast to be removed from store shelves for months because nobody, and I mean nobody, can get new stock in because you kept buying it from the distributors themselves.
Oh, pshaw. The claim. This is. Radical Roberto loves to spread his wild conspiracy theories. There's no way
It's
they
not
removed these
wild.
Baja Blasts from shelves just because of me. Are you
Yes, it's
kidding me? I'm
because
just
of
one
you.
man. Of course, I am very powerful and very cool and very awesome. But at the end of the day, I'm just one person. How could I be responsible for a worldwide shortage of Baja Blast, as
You've
Roberto seems
tried.
to be baselessly claiming?
You've tried to take all the Baja Blast for yourself. You tried to monopolize the Baja Blast storage supplies of sodas. Even to go as far as removing it from community members' houses. There's a Twitter user by the name of, I think, Swizzle Kid, who has said that you were trying to rampage through his house, trying to steal his Mountain Dew Baja Blast from Taco Bell. Now, if that doesn't scream addiction and wanting to not let any community members to even have a drink of this Baja Blast, it just goes to show that you just have a very monopolized addiction. And I even bet whenever you supposedly admitted that Jolt Cola is the new soft drink of the Winter OA community, I'm pretty sure that was just a guise for you to say that, hey, Mountain Dew is no longer cool, so everyone's not going to buy Mountain Dew anymore,
Thank you,
and you're
Mr.
going to be the
Scotsman.
one buying all the Mountain Dew because no one's going to want to drink it.
Thank you, Mr. Scotsman. And with that, we will move on to our fourth segment, and it's about arguably the most controversial member in the community, Roman of Roman's TWR Empire.
Mm.
Question goes as follows. Roman has become one of the most controversial members in the TWRC. If you become president, will you lock up Roman or pardon him from his crimes against the TWRC? Mr. 2002, your time begins now.
We all know that that Roman and I have a complicated history. I mean, that's something that was obviously even made clear earlier in this debate, but I would like to make something 100% clear tonight. If I become president, I would not lock up Roman, because that is too generous for him. I would tie Roman up with chains and put him into a helicopter and then fly him away onto a private island and then shoot 600 nuclear missiles onto that island. And then once the island was completely reduced to ash, I would drop 600 more just to be sure Roman was dead, and then I would arrive on the burning wreckage of the island, and I would take a piss on where Roman once stood, where his ashes are now. That's my Roman plan.
Thank you, Mr. 2002. Mr. Scotsman, your time begins now.
Well, what a way. I'm just appalled by Mr. 2002's comments on Roman. That sounds like extreme torture. I mean, if he does this with Roman, what's to say that he's not going to do with you, the viewer, if you happen to step over his line and then you become his new Roman? You're going to be the one who's going to be hung from a helicopter and shot with 600 nuclear missiles and then pissed on. My solution with Roman is that the dude needs a rolling whistle Charlie and maybe Stanley, a 2009 Stanley, new in the box. And then maybe he'll be okay. You know what? We could try him for all of his crimes he's done against the community, all of his remakes, all of his... Well, that's all he posts. And then maybe we should leave him with a warning, probably a death sentence. You know what? We don't know. But
thank you, Mr.
what I'm just saying is that Monster Matt is showing his true colors, being a monster.
Thank you, Mr. Scotsman. Feel free to debate, you two.
Well, there's no reforming someone as dark and twisted as Roman. There's no reforming that. There's no happy ending where we just give Roman a roll and whistle Charlie and suddenly he turns over a new leaf. He is a danger. He is a terror to this community, and we need to make sure that he does not threaten the lives of our innocent community members anymore. With Roman still at large, you and your family are at risk, and I will ensure that he is no longer a threat.
Well, Matt, I think maybe there's a way we can calm Roman down. Maybe we should just give him a Mountain Dew Baja Blast. But last time I went to the supermarket, there are no Mountain Dew Baja
Well, then
Blasts
give him a
in
Jolt
the
Cola.
store.
It's just as good.
No, no, no. See, this is you spreading your fake news propaganda about Joe Cola being the new community drink so you can take all the Baja
Look
Blast.
at this
No,
guy. I
Roman needs the
love this
Baja
guy.
Blast.
I love this guy. Radical Roberto over here trying to undercut my ingenious plan to keep the community safe.
The community needs to be kept safe, but not from Roman. Needs to be kept safe from you. That's the only way we can keep this community safe.
Thank you.
Roberto. Okay. All
Thank you
right. All right.
both.
If
Thank
that's
you
time,
both.
if that's time.
We will go to our fifth segment, and this question actually comes from a member of the community, Mr. Train King James. Now, Mr. James asks, as a concerned member of the community, which of these two candidates will help us on important issues, such as layout construction permits and the ridiculous overpriced TWR items on eBay? Mr. Scotsman, your time begins now.
Well, I'm pretty sure that if you go down far to the rabbit hole, down to like the early 2010s of the community, maybe even as far back as the late 2000s, of the decade, where the community was still going on, thriving. There was a certain username, Fun for You, and who also went under, who went other, get it? They went other names, I'm pretty sure. And this Fun for You would sell large amount of eBay items for TWR at extreme prices. You have to be a bumbling idiot to buy from Fun for You. And I'm pretty sure that the real identity of Fun for You is in this debate stage, none other than Monster Matt selling TWR items at extremely high prices in order to fund his
Thank
Mountain
you,
Dew
Mr.
Baja
Scotsman.
Blast addiction.
Thank you, Mr. Scotsman. Mr. 2002.
I mean, come on. Did you hear that? That was the ramblings of a madman proclaiming me to be some sort of insane Thomas Wooden Railway eBay hoarder. That is absurd. Once again, Radical Roberto and his crazy conspiracy theories, none of which hold any water. My plans for eBay are quite much simpler. I don't even know what Roberto's plan was. He didn't even say shit. But my plan to help people get better deals on eBay is quite simple. I will simply just build a time machine with my superior advanced technology, of which I have much, and take us back to 2014, where you could still get a white-faced troublesome truck for only like $60, as opposed to the $200 that they sell for now. Quite simply, we just have to go back in time before anybody realized how much the value of these items would increase. That is
Thank you, Mr.
my
2002.
easy and accessible
Free to
plan.
debate each other.
Folks, here's the deal. Monster Matt's ideas of a time machine sounds like it's taken out of some sort of science fiction novel he read back in 5th grade. There is no way you can build a time machine to go back to 2014 to buy a white-faced troublesome truck for only $60. I never seen a white-faced troublesome truck sell for under $60 that was complete. The only whiteface I saw sell for under that price was one Matthew Rosato bought, and it was missing a, a part of its
Well, that still counts, does it
interior.
not? You can't just go saying that you didn't see any of them and then name one that you did see. Plus,
I
Matthew
said,
Rosato is a very close personal friend of mine,
oh,
a
I'm
fellow
sure.
Matt. You know, if I become elected, I can promise here that Matthew Rosato will become a very important member of my cabinet, perhaps even director of finance. After all, he appears to know how to spend money very, very well.
I'm sure, but I should let you know. I said complete whiteface. His whiteface was missing one of the sides, and he put up a donation page, a GoFundMe, to fix his whiteface troublesome truck after he spent already $50 on it, and not to mention that was his third one. So your director of finance in your cabinet can't even come up with a donation to fix his white face. How are you going to trust him with your administration's funding if it ever gets to that point that you need to start picking cabinet members for your administration,
Well,
which you're not going to win.
clearly he knows how to handle money because he's using other people's money to fix his item and not his own, which I think is a very ingenious and entrepreneurial way to think.
It would
it
work.
saves you money and it makes other people pay for things that you own. It's really quite
It
genius.
would work if some sap was around to actually donate money
Mr.
to it. No one
Scotsman.
donated to it.
Thank you both. It is time for our final segment. As one of you are about to become the next president of the TWRC, what would make you a president not just for the hand pusher party, or the string user party, or the remake channel party, but a president for the TWRC? Mr. Scotsman, your time begins now.
This question is a similar question to the whole top train and bottom train users, except it's now debated onto what sort of videos that they make. I believe that during my times on YouTube that I have shown my hand on the camera. I did use string for my series, and I have done remakes. So, taking all of those videos, I think that I'm a pretty well-centered person in this community style of videos. I even filmed outside. So, the outside party, I can also have a little bit of experience in all four styles of the community. So that's why I believe that I would be the best, because I have been there in everyone's shoes at one point or another. I used string, I filmed outside, I've used my hands, and what was the fourth one? I've done remakes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Scotsman. Mr. 2002.
Blah, blah, blah. All this talking from Roberto about how I've done all these things. Yeah, right. Everybody knows that the job of a good leader is not to do everything themselves, it is to dictate. So, if I become leader, I would not be so concerned about having filmed outside or filmed with hands or strings or whatever, because I will have members of my cabinet that have had experience doing all those things, so that way, when jobs need to be done, I don't have to worry about taking care of it all myself. I mean, I can't be forced to do everything at once. My system will just overload, you know? Like, I need a good leader needs to be able to assign jobs to other people.
Now,
and I
Mr.
think that's what I'm
2002,
good at.
talked about your cabinet. Could you give us a few names of people you would see in your cabinet?
Yes, certainly, of course. Thomas Freak 808, of course, our good friend.
Boring.
Sir Topham Hat 291, one of my oldest and most trusted advisors.
White pages.
Excuse me, do you have something you'd like to say about my choices for cabinet, Roberto? My very esteemed choices for people that will watch over this administration.
Well, yes, you are going for another Wooden Railway Hoarder of 1992 items for one position. And second, you're going to someone who wanted to create a Confederate community for another position. Now, this is somebody who has willingly left the community to make their own community, and look how that worked out. He ended up being ousted by this community. Why would you want to return him? Sounds like you, Mr. MPS2002, are a puppet for Sir Topham Hat 291, and
I'm
you
not
would
a puppet.
sell this
Hey,
community out
hey.
to him, like you did to the Chuggington community.
Hey, listen to me, you stupid human. I am not a puppet for anything. I am my own creation, and I am telling you now, you pathetic, disgusting bags of flesh and blood, I will rule this community. And when I do, when I rule this community,
Hello? Hello,
Mr.
Mr.
MPS.
2002? Mr. 2002. Mr. Scotsman, I think Mr. 2002 has broken down.
Must have been a server malfunction.
It must have been, so I guess by default, the next community president is LNERFlyingScotsman.
Whew. I knew it could be done. My supporters, you've been with me this entire way, and look at us. Here we are. at the top of the food chain.
Congratulations, LNERFlyingScotsman. Now that you're going to be president of the TWRC, what is your first move you want to make?
My first move, thank you for asking, Mr. Six. My first move will become the new host of Blue Midwest Mysteries.
But I don't think you can do that.
As
Myself and
community president, I am issuing an executive order as the new host of Blue Midwest Mysteries.
well, if you do that, what's going to happen to myself and Mr. 2002?
Mr. 2002, well, he'll be out of commission for a while, I think. As for you, you have your own other podcast show on this channel here, don't you?
I do, but so do you. Don't you just want to stick with Roberto's records?
Why should you have two right now? Why can't I have two?
I can't give you a good reason for that.
Exactly. So this is a little vacation for you, a little break. It
Okay,
looks like you need a break. You need to focus more on that show than this show, I feel like. You
I
need a
guess
break.
I guess I could do that. Are you going to announce your new co-host today, or are we gonna have to wait and see?
We're gonna have to wait and see. It might even just be a rotating list of co-hosts,
Well,
of guests, you
I
know?
I guess for the final time, for my former co-host, MrMPS2002, and myself, Percy number 6, goodbye. Thank you for listening to Blue Midwest Mysteries, and is your new host.